exposed. 3 spine-chilling true stories of haunted home alone experiences that will terrify you. It was the first time Lily would be home alone, and she was both thrilled and terrified. The suburban neighborhood of Oakwood, nestled in Rhode Island, usually offered a safe cocoon. But as the sun dipped below the horizon, shadows thickened and the air crackled with an unsettling energy. The aroma of her mother's freshly baked cookies lingered, a comforting reminder of the warmth and safety they usually shared. But as night fell, the familiar corners of their cozy home bloomed with fear. The wind howled, rattling the old window frames. Lily's heart raced as twilight turned into darkness. Trying to shake off her nerves, she curled up on the couch and switched on a horror movie. Just as the suspenseful music crescendoed, her phone buzzed violently with an unfamiliar number. She hesitated, then opened the text. It sent a chill down her spine. "I know where you are, Lily, you and your mother." Such intimate knowledge felt sinister. Surely, it was a prank, a harmless joke from her old friends in middle school. But the unease deepened, making her palms sweat. The lights above flickered ominously, casting long, eerie shadows that danced on the walls, mocking her increasing dread. 2 hours later, the atmosphere sizzled with palpable tension. An unsettling presence loomed beyond the front door. Lily approached, her heart thundering, and found the door slightly open, barely ajar. Panic surged through her. Was someone watching her? Memories of whispered tales from the neighborhood children flooded her mind. The peculiar handyman who had fixed things around their home, someone her mother had trusted. She retraced her steps. Trying to quell her anxiety, she dialed her mother. The phone rang and rang, but all she got was silence, a heavy, suffocating silence. Her insides twisted. Mustering her teenage bravery, she decided to venture outside. The chill air bit at her skin, intensifying the sense of danger that clung to her like a heavy cloak. The shadows swayed and moved, creeping all too close for comfort. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The cold cut through her as she stepped beyond the threshold, every creak of the wooden deck betraying her movements. Memories of the lore surrounding the handyman came rushing back. Chillingly vivid stories spun from paranoia and untold fears of others. Tremors ran through her body at the thought that the stories might hold truth. As she scanned the darkness for a lurking figure, her phone buzzed anew, making her jump. A message, "I'm closer than you think." Her heart dropped. She stood frozen, the world around her shrinking into a suffocating void. Was this a game, or was it something darker? The boundaries of a child's thrill and a woman's terror bled together. In that moment of breathless uncertainty, she whispered into the darkness. Trembling, was she truly alone, or was the nightmare just beginning? The icy wind howled as Lily stood outside, her breath visible in the frigid night air, anxiety pinching at her chest like a vice. The buzz from her phone still tingled in her fingertips. The message lingered in her mind, a taunting echo. "I'm closer than you think." A shiver ran down her spine. She felt vulnerable under the gaze of the unrelenting darkness, her instincts screaming that something was very wrong. Steeling herself, she stepped further into the yard, her shoes crunching against the gravel. The shadows seemed to morph around her, twisting and turning as if alive, each rustle of the trees amplifying her terror. Searching for signs of life, she glanced toward the street. Nothing. The quiet was unnerving, swallowing any sound that dared to break the stillness. Something rustled behind her. Instinctively, she whipped around, scanning the area intently. Nothing, just the gentle sway of branches. But the feeling of being watched gripped her tighter. She could feel the weight of unseen eyes lurking in the blackness. Lily turned back toward her house, instinctively moving to the door that still gaped open, an invitation into the unknown. Hesitation clawed at her. Part of her yearned to retreat to the safety of her home. Yet the thrill of confronting whatever stalked her tugged at her bravery. It was a game of wills, and she refused to back down. With each step, the door creaked eerily as if warning her not to enter. Her hand hovered over the doorknob, pulse racing. Then she plunged inside, slamming it shut behind her. The familiar surroundings now felt like traps. Shadows loomed behind every piece of furniture, each room a potential hiding place. She felt small, vulnerable, and utterly alone. Taking a deep breath, she forced herself to calm her racing heart. There had to be a rational explanation. This was just her imagination running wild. As she crossed into the kitchen, a sudden crash from the living room jolted her. Heart in her throat, she clung to the counter for support. Couldn't be the wind. The sound was too loud, too deliberate. She swallowed hard, debating whether to grab a knife from the drawer, a feeble weapon against the unseen. With trembling hands, she reached for her phone, desperately wanting to call her mother, but her nerves betrayed her. The eerie quiet was disrupted only by the sound of her own breathing, which now felt foreign and labored. As she scrolled through her contacts, the screen flickered, the brightness dimming in time with her fervor. Out of the corner of her eye, she spotted movement, a dark figure, just beyond the hall. Lily froze, the phone slipping from her grasp and clattering to the floor, its light flicking off and on like a strobe against the walls. The figure stepped closer, revealing a silhouette, indistinct but undeniably there. Panic surged through her like wildfire, adrenaline igniting as she turned to flee. But where? The living room? The back door? She groped for options as the figure inched closer, a chilling realization dawning upon her. It wasn't just the handyman whispering warnings from the shadows. There was something worse lurking, festering in the dark. Just as she reached the door, her phone buzzed again, the screen lighting up with the same, familiar number. Heart racing, she hesitated, torn between answering and running. What now? The unspooled horror of the night coiled around her, tightening like a noose. And when she finally gathered the courage to grab the phone, the message that lit up her screen read, "I'm inside." The air thickened, fear merging with chaos. Was she truly trapped? Her breath caught in her throat, and she thought, how could this happen? But the answer was right in front of her. Lily's heart pounded loud enough to drown out the muffled creaks and groans of her old house. She stole a glance toward the living room where the dark figure seemed to linger just beyond her peripheral vision. The walls felt like they were closing in, suffocating, as panic swept through her like a chill. Was she really alone? "You have to think," she whispered to herself, frantically scanning the kitchen for a weapon. The knife block sat invitingly, but fear had turned her limbs to lead. Compelled by adrenaline, she lunged toward it, her fingers grazing the cool steel. The blade felt heavy yet oddly reassuring, with her grip tight around the handle. She turned back, focused on the darkened hallway stretching ominously before her. The figure now stood still, watching. Shadows danced across the walls, pulsating with her growing dread. She could feel its gaze digging into her skin, whispering all the secrets of despair. Suddenly, the silence shattered like glass. A loud crash erupted from upstairs, followed by the unmistakable sound of footsteps, slow and deliberate. Each thud reverberated in her chest, surging through her body like a tidal wave of terror. She was not just being watched. She was being hunted. "Make a choice, Lily," she told herself. "Either face it or you'll die wondering." She hesitated a moment longer, her mind racing with possibilities. What if she ran upstairs? What awaited her in the dark? Could she even make it back outside? Without thinking, she began stepping toward the stairwell, heart hammering against her ribs like a drum. Each step felt like a countdown, the closer she got to the source of the noise. As she climbed, the air grew colder, the atmosphere thick with an electric weight. At the top, the hallway stretched out, dimly lit by a flickering bulb. The shadows morphed around her, the air heavy with the scent of decay. The bathroom door was ajar, a sliver of darkness opening into oblivion. Lily edged closer, her breath hitching in her throat. She peeked inside but saw nothing unusual, just a mirror that reflected back her terror-stricken face. Then she heard it again, soft, raspy whispers from the darkness. They slithered through the air, prickling her skin. "Join us!" The plea trailed into a sinister echo, chilling her veins. Who were they? And what did they want? She took a step back as icy fingers of dread gripped her heart. Suddenly, she heard more movement behind her, and when she turned, the figure was there once again, the shadow haunting her dreams. But this time, it stepped into the light. Its face was obscured, an ever-shifting mass of shadows, but two glowing eyes locked onto hers. Lily's grip tightened around the knife, an impotent defense against the nightmare coalescing before her. "Who are you?" she cried, voice trembling. The entity leaned closer, a cold breath washing over her. "You already know," as if in response. The lights flickered and went out, plunging her into absolute darkness. "Don't leave me," she whispered, fear latching onto her throat. But the whispers grew louder, the shadows more alive, consuming all sound. Desperation clawed at her as she desperately grabbed for the wall, needing something firm to hold on to. And then, just as abruptly as the darkness descended, the lights returned, revealing a scene that made her blood run cold. The living room lay in chaos, furniture overturned, pictures askew, and in the center, a message scratched into the wood of her coffee table. "You should have never come here." Lily's breath caught in her throat. What had she invited into her home? But before she could process the horror, a new message slid across her phone screen. The familiar, taunting number glared back at her. "You're just beginning to understand." Lily's eyes widened. She turned to the hallway. Was it truly empty? And then an even more chilling whisper floated through the air, carried on the freezing wind. "Let the game begin." What had she awakened? Lily's breath came in frantic gasps as the unsettling reality of her chaotic living room closed in on her. The familiar walls felt foreign, suffocating, as if they were witnesses to her despair. She forced herself to breathe, clutching the knife like a lifeline, its cold metal cutting through her panic. If only slightly. The whispers in the shadows coiled around her, growing louder, more insistent. "Join us," they echoed through the house like an ominous chant. Who were they? What game had she unknowingly entered? Her phone buzzed again, vibrating against the table with urgency. Another message. Heart racing, she snatched it up. "They see you, Lily." The text sent a shockwave through her, turning her blood cold. Who was watching? "Get a grip," she muttered under her breath, shaking her head as if to dispel the creeping dread. She had to think, had to act. Lily turned her focus to the staircase. The sound had come from upstairs. Taking a deep breath, she steeled herself for the confrontation she both dreaded and craved. With each careful step up the stairs, the floor creaked underfoot, mocking her resolve. The whispering shadows seemed to follow her, swirling at her heels, eager to pull her back into darkness. As she reached the top, the flickering hallway greeted her like the maw of a beast ready to devour her whole. "Why did I stay?" she groaned, clutching the railing. The bathroom door was still ajar, a gaping void. The whispers now morphed, growing louder, a cacophonic plea for her compliance. She gulped, forehead beaded with sweat. Swallowing hard, she stepped towards the bathroom, powerless against the pull of the darkness within. Peering inside, the mirror stood before her, obscured by a thick layer of steam. Her reflection swayed, a tortured visage twisted in panic and disbelief. But it wasn't just her own reflection staring back. More faces swirled amid the foggy glass, mouths moving in wordless shrieks. It was a gallery of lost souls. Terror cascaded down her spine. "Get out!" she screamed, and the glass shattered, jagged edges exploding outward. Instinctively, Lily raised her arms, shielding her face from the shards that rained down. Blood began to trickle from a cut on her wrist. She stumbled back, retreating into the hallway. The entity materialized again, closer now, its eyes penetrating her very essence. "Why do you resist?" It rasped, voice like crushed gravel. "You're not the first. They all came before you." "Who?" Lily shouted, adrenaline surging through her veins. She planted her feet firmly, knife held defensively before her. All she wanted was to escape, to be free of this nightmare. Suddenly, the voice backed away, laughter slicing through her fear. They'll come for you in time. In that moment, the light flickered violently, plunging her into a strobe-like chaos. Shadows flickered, each heartbeat echoing louder than the last, as the figures coiled around her. The darkness ate at the edges of her vision. She blinked, frantic, and then the lights went out completely once more. Panic spread through her like wildfire. A rustle behind her sent her whirling around. The shadowed figure was gone, but a firm grip clamped down on her shoulder from behind. "Lily," a voice breathed, sending shivers down her spine. It was familiar but not right. "You need to let them in." Frozen with fear, she turned slowly. A pair of glowing eyes met hers, no longer ominous but eerily comforting in a twisted way. "What do you want from me?" she breathed, heart racing, her instincts screaming at her to run but her feet rooted to the spot. "They want to come home," the voice cooed. "All you have to do is open the door." "What door? Where?" But before she could gather her thoughts, the grip on her shoulder tightened, yanking her toward the edge of the abyss that stretched before her. The game was just beginning. Suddenly, a piercing scream erupted from the depths of the house, a familiar voice, one that sent her spiraling down into a dark wave of dread. "Mom!" Reality twisted as her mind reeled. The house shifted around her, memories flooding in, memories best left buried. What had she truly awakened? Lily's heart raced, pounding in her chest like a drum of impending doom. "Mom!" The words spilled from her lips like a desperate plea, her voice echoing down the cold, empty hallway. The shadows seemed to hold their breath, silently mocking her. "Stop it!" she shouted into the darkness, gripping the knife tighter, the blade's chill grounding her momentarily. Each step toward the sound felt weighty, the air thick with something unspeakable. She could almost hear the whispers again, curling around her ears like tendrils of smoke. "Join us," the house groaned, responding to her fear, walls contracting inward. Memories flooded her mind, a torrent of happy days and dark secrets. Her mother's smile was a stronghold, yet Lily couldn't shake the feeling that something darker lurked in that smile. "Mom!" she called again, knowing full well what waited at the end of this hallway, an abyss pregnant with fear and shadows. She could feel it. The darkness gnawed at her edges, whispering promises of forgotten safety. Sweat dripped down her back as she steeled herself against the creeping dread. She pushed open the door to her mother's bedroom, the wood squeaking in protest. Inside all was still. The moonlight spilled through the window, casting eerie silhouettes, but her mother was nowhere. Panic clawed at her throat, choking her reason. A low murmur beckoned from the closet. "Mom?" she ventured, voice trembling. She stepped forward, knife raised, heart hammering in her ears. As Lily approached, the wardrobe stood ominously open, revealing an inky black void. It felt alive, breathing, pulsing with a sinister energy. The whispers intensified like a heart pumping faster with fear. "Join us," they spoke again, hushed but urgent, sending shivers racing up her spine. "No, I want tea," she yelled, desperation fueling her resolve. Then, the whispering ceased, replaced by silence so thick it suffocated her. Then, she saw it. A glimmer from within the closet. Something flickered in the darkness, sparkling like broken glass. With a deep, shuddering breath, she leaned closer, squinting into the depths. Her reflection in the mirror at the back of the closet was changed. It was not her face that stared back, but a multitude of shocked expressions, an audience of lost souls. They clawed at the glass, mouths silent but frantic, as if trying to escape. They were trapped like her. "Mom!" she cried out again, the knife slipping from her hands, clattering to the floor. Suddenly, a voice, soft yet menacing, purred from the shadows. "You're not alone, Lily. They've waited for you." Before she could react, the closet door slammed shut with a deafening thud. Panic engulfed her. She was stuck, ensnared in a web of desires and secrets. All sounds faded into a pulse, a slow thrum vibrating through the floorboards beneath her feet. Then she felt a cold breeze wrapping around her like icy fingers. The shadows danced nearer, whispering secrets of those who had come before. Souls longing for release, clinging to this world through her fear. "Let them in," the voice murmured once more, this time from directly behind her. With a swift turn, she faced another shadow, this one taller, leaner, its presence suffocating. "You can't fight what you are," it hissed, revealing a distorted grin, eyes gleaming not with malice but longing. "Get away from me," she shrieked, terror momentarily shattering her paralysis. But fear rooted her to the spot, every instinct crying out to flee. "Join us." With a swift burst of courage, Lily lunged towards the door, but the world fell into darkness again, an overwhelming void swallowing her remaining light. The last thing she sensed was the room shifting, the door clattering shut, trapping her in the depths of a nightmare. "Mom, please." Then, another scream echoed through the house, familiar yet haunting. "Lily." This time, the voice was unmistakably her mother's, laced with urgency. What was happening? The decision loomed before her: the darkness or the light. To join the whispers or fight to save herself and her family. All she had to do was choose, but what if her choice was what trapped her mother? The price of survival weighed heavily on her shattered spirit. Which way did she still have left to turn? The ground beneath her feet trembled, and the shadows closed in with a vengeance. In that moment, Lily realized she might not be alone after all. What had they awakened together? The darkness pulsed, a living entity, wrapping around Lily like a spider's web. Shadows stretched and twisted, reaching for her with skeletal fingers. "Join us." Chills raced down her spine, her skin prickling with the cold touch of dread. Panic surged within her. She couldn't let them claim her. "Not now." "Mom!" she cried once more, but the word dissolved into the abyss, drowned by the oncoming tide of whispers. The thrum beneath her feet grew louder, a heartbeat echoing in the silent, swallowed room, matched only by her own frantic pulse. Lily, her mother's voice drifted through the heaviness, a desperate note that ignited a spark of hope. But the sound was distant, a memory tainted with sorrow. It threatened to slip away, just as the warmth of the sunlight vanished during the darkest hours of a storm. "Mom, where are you?" she begged, throwing herself against the door. It shuddered but held firm, mocking her futile strength. Behind her, the shadows drew closer, heavy and oppressive, hungry for her fear. "Surrender," the tall shadow whispered, its voice slithering around her. "You have so much to give." "No," she shouted, her voice echoing defiantly. "I won't let you take her." The knife lay forgotten on the floor, but she didn't need it. This was a fight not just for herself but for her saved mother, for the love that still lingered somewhere in the depths of this hell. The shadows hissed in response, swirling around her, and in their movement, she caught glimpses of faces twisted, contorted in agony, reaching out, begging for release. She staggered back, pressing against the door, seeking any escape as the swirling darkness boxed her in. "What do you want?" "Freedom," they all spoke in unison, their voices a chilling harmony. "And you, dear Lily, hold the key." Memory struck her embers of a family dinner, laughter mingling with warmth. Her mother's smile, the way it lit up the room like sunshine breaking through clouds. But the memory warped, corrupted by the haunting whispers. "What did you do?" she murmured, dread creeping back in like smoke curling around her feet. From the throat of the closet, the mirror flickered again, reflecting not just her, but the room in tatters, overlapping with images of a happier time. Her heart hammered as she grasped the truth: her mother had lingered far too long in this house, ensnared by its darkness. "Join us," the shadows beckoned again, yearning for her to step into the fold. "No, I refuse," Lily shouted, steadying herself with a fierce resolve. She remembered the stories, how voices wrapped around those who listened too long, how they fell into despair. Calmness now mingled with rage. She realized what she had to do. With renewed determination, she turned back to the closet, feeling the vibrations of its call resonating through her. You think you can have me? She spat. You'll never break me. The shadows recoiled, momentarily taken aback. Their whispers turned frantic, like wind through a forest before a storm. Mom! She bellowed, a cry that rang through the suffocating darkness. Where are you? I'm coming. Suddenly, the world around her quaked violently, shaking the foundations of her reality. The closet door rattled as if pushing against an unseen force. Lily! The voice was clearer now, more urgent. Help me! The terror surged again, colliding with despair as she realized the truth. The whispers had indeed awakened something far worse. What if the entrapment was not in the house but in her very blood? Desperation filled her, and just as she thought she'd find her way, her surroundings began to twist once more. The shadows' laughter echoed mockingly, reverberating against the walls. You cannot save her. You must choose. Lily's breath faltered. The shadows lunged forward, and she braced for impact, heart racing, eyes wide, ready to fight back against the consuming darkness. But in the depths of her soul, a chilling realization hit her. What if saving her mother required a sacrifice she wasn't ready to make? As the shadows closed in, she held her breath, caught between salvation and doom. What would she sacrifice to? Break the cycle? The darkness clenched tighter around Lily, a noose of despair tightening with every frantic thought. She felt a cold sweat bead on her brow as the shadows pressed against her, their whispers swirling like a tempest in her ears. Choose now, they hissed. We can free you. The air felt thick, suffocating. Her heart thudded, a frantic rhythm that drowned out the oppressive whispers. Instinctively, she clutched her head, trying to shut out the chaos, trying to focus. No, I'll find her. I will find my mom. The words tasted bitter, but they steadied her. Suddenly, a bright flash. The mirror in the closet shimmered painfully, momentarily illuminating the room around her. Lily squinted against the light, hoping to catch a glimpse of her mother, but all she saw was her own frantic reflection. The girl in the mirror looked lost, confused, like a shadow herself. Look deeper, the shadows crooned, their tone mocking. Your connection to her is your strength. Without thinking, she reached for the mirror. It felt cold, solid against her palm, but she felt a pulse, a heartbeat that beat in sync with her own. Close enough to feel, but her mother remained just out of reach. Panic surged again. Was it truly her mother behind the veil, or just a darker trick of the house? Another tempting illusion meant to twist her into despair? Get out! She screamed, her voice raw, her will igniting anew. She pounded the glass with her fists, desperation spilling over. I'll fight. Let me in. The glass rippled like water in response, imploding inward and revealing a violent swirl of darkness. Shadows spilled out, dragging her in, threatening to consume her completely. Together, they chanted, resonating through the air like a requiem. Join your mother. A jerk, and she stumbled into the void, the sensation of falling mixing with the horrifying greed of the shadows. They encircled her, drawing her deeper into their realm, a place where sorrow mingled with hope, guilt with longing. Do you see them? The shadows whispered sweetly. So many souls lost just like yours. All wanting a chance, all wanting you. The room flashed again, though dimmer this time. A ghastly parade of faces emerged from the shadows, tormented souls, their eyes wide and pleading. Catching glimpses of her mother intertwined with theirs, Lily felt her stomach twist. It wasn't just her mother. Is this what awaited her if she stayed? Would she, too, become a lost echo of despair? Lily, her mother's voice was clearer now, breaking through the din like a lighthouse beam. But the shadows dimmed it, pulling it away with their frantic laughter. Choose, they echoed. Join us or you will lose her forever. A pang of guilt twisted her heart. This darkness, this horror, it thrived on fear, on grief. What if I don't want to be saved? What if I find peace in the shadows? It whispered, tempting her with soft coos of false comfort. No, my love is stronger, she yelled, each word tearing from her throat. The power of it fueled a fire inside her, igniting rage and hope. She focused, searching for the thread of connection that held her to her mother. The shadows shrieked, recoiling from her fierce spirit. With a surge of will, Lily shattered the glass with her fist. It exploded in a burst of light, and all at once, she was engulfed in a cascade of warmth that threatened to consume the darkness around her. "Mom!" she cried out, reaching toward the flickering light, desperate to grasp that connection before it vanished. Yet as she began to pull herself through, the shadows recoiled again, furious, and the last thing she heard was a low, chilling laugh. "Your sacrifice is coming, dear Lily. It looms closer than you think." Was this battle about to cost her the very thing she was fighting for? The question weighed heavily on her heart, hanging in the air like fog, suffocating and still. She braced herself, ready to confront whatever lay ahead. But just before she stepped through, she caught a fleeting glimpse of her mother's face twisted in pain, moaning her name. What had she awakened? In the heart of the shadows, the truth simmered, ready to strike, and Lily felt it deep within her bones. What if she was not just fighting for her mother, but for her own very soul? The light swallowed her whole, yet the shadows clung stubbornly at the edges, swirling like a storm, gnashing their teeth. Lily felt a jolt as an unseen force pushed her back. The warmth, the flickering light, it fought against the cold tendrils that gripped her tight, clawing at her throat. "Lily!" Her mother's voice again, a haunting melody layered with despair. It called to her from the depths, luring her closer, and for an instant, doubt flickered in Lily's heart. "Hold on!" she screamed, forcing herself to the shimmering edge of the light. Yet as she struggled, the shadows jabbered, mocking her. "Your love is so strong, but so is your fear," they chanted. "You're not alone, Lily. We promise we will give you what you seek." A deafening howl erupted from the darkness, sending chills coursing down her spine. Faces formed in the swirling mass, shifting and contorting. Muffled cries and cries for help echoed, each one swallowing another in the black abyss. There, she saw them, not just lost souls, but figures from her past friends, neighbors, people she never thought of again, eyes wide and pleading, forever trapped in that haunting grip. Lily's pulse quickened. She thought of her mother, her smile, the soft voice that had always called her home. "I won't let you take me." She thrust her hands forward, desperate to sever the invisible threads binding her to this nightmare. "Everything is at stake." One shadow howled, "Your mother will suffer if you do not stay." "Stop it," she yelled, tears mingling with the darkness trickling down her cheeks. She felt them pouring into her heart, like icy tendrils wrapping around her soul, their grip aching, shifting with every breath. They offered solace but demanded surrender. "This is mine. I decide." But as hard as she fought, the shadows inched closer, their laughter an endless echo, weaving tales of despair laced with promises of eternal peace. She staggered back, the onslaught growing unbearable, until a flicker of defiance sparked within. Suddenly, the light dimmed, and she sensed it, her mother's image, straining against the shroud of shadow, her eyes piercing through. "Lily, don't believe them." "Mom, I'm coming." With all her strength, she lunged toward the light, gripping at the essence of her mother's soul. Without warning, the darkness buckled and warped. It howled with rage, a monstrous symphony that vibrated through the air. "You don't understand what you're sacrificing. We'll take her instead." A rush of terror gripped Lily's heart as the shadows lashed out, thickening around her, clawing for her very essence. "No," she cried. As she clung to her mother's voice, clarity struck her like lightning. To fight the shadows was to embrace her love, her mother's love. She needed to become one with the light, to draw strength from the connection pulsing within. "Lily," the shadows roared, churning with fury. "You've made your choice. You'll regret this." And then, as she dove deeper into the glow, she felt something snap, a limit shattered within her. The brightness engulfed her completely. A scream erupted, but was swallowed by the light as she spiraled, the warmth cradling her as she vanished from the realm of shadows. But then the brightness flickered, disappearing like a smile pulled away too quickly. She was thrown into a vast emptiness, suspended between worlds. The darkness loomed at the edges, whispering promises of retribution. teasing her with what could have been. A flicker caught her attention, a shadowed figure. Her mother? No, twisted and writhing. Its features rotted and sunken, eyes void of life. A visage like a mirror, steely and cruel. Did you truly think love could save you? The figure's voice slithered around her, chilling her to the bone. You don't understand what is at stake with mounting dread. Lily felt it, the tether between them stretched thin. What was left of her mother was now like a feather, drifting farther from her grasp. And just like that, the realization hit her hard. The battle was just beginning. What would she do now? In a realm where shadows held court, could love still conquer all? Or was she doomed to be enveloped by the darkness that hungered for her soul? Lily felt the void around her close in, the oppressive silence pressing against her like a weight. She reached out, but the darkness warped her senses. The twisted figure, her mother or a perverse echo of her, loomed closer, its ghastly smile stretching wider. Look what love has brought you, it hissed. The voice was familiar, yet laced with an icy malice that made her skin crawl. Your heart feels heavy with longing, does it not? This entire world is a twisted reflection of your desires, love, hope, and fear mingling in a dance of despair. Lily's heart raced. You're not my mother, she shouted, trying to hold on to the warmth of her memories. But doubt curled around her like smoke, infiltrating her thoughts. What if this was the truth? What if love was just another chain binding her to this darkness? Ah, but even the strongest dreams can become nightmares. The figure crooned, and the shadows behind it began to shift, forming scenes from her past. Moments of joy twisted grotesquely into scenes of loss and regret. Her high school graduation, the smile on her mother's face, the joy in her heart, all warped by the encroaching darkness. No, stop, Lily cried, but her voice faded into the void. A cold wind whipped around her, grasping her throat, suffocating her thoughts. The icy tendrils dragged her back, like forgotten memories clawing their way up from the abyss. You chose power over love, Lily. You think you can resist? The figure leaned in closer, its rotting breath mingling with her fears. The shadows undulated, dissolving and mixing with her thoughts. It's only just beginning. With each breath, we grow stronger. Panic surged inside her. She couldn't lose herself to this wretched torment. She thought of her mother, of her unwavering strength. Images of her mother enveloped her senses, warmth, laughter, safety. If love was as powerful as she believed, it could cut through the cold. Couldn't it? But doubt twisted like a knife, relentless and painful, feeding the shadows. Join us, Lily, the figure whispered, dark promises spilling out like oil. We will give you your mother back. Just surrender. No, she shouted, fighting against the urge to yield. Yet the darkness stirred, pulsing around her. 1,000 tiny hands reached out, pulling at her very essence. She sensed the weight of her despair, her guilt, and each moment she fought back only fed the shadow's thirst. Next, it paused, a sharp grin carving into its features. You'll face the pain of your choices. Can you bear it? Suddenly, the surroundings shifted. She was thrust into a deep memory, her last moment with her mother, that fateful day. The fleeting warmth of goodbye wrapped her heart in a familiar ache. Lily screamed, a sound of anguish. I won't let you take this from me. As she struggled, the world around her fractured, shadows swirling like a cyclone. Her mother's voice resonated through the chaos. Stronger now. Fight, Lily. You can break the cycle. Fueled by desperation, Lily lunged forward, reaching for the shimmering fragment of her love within the darkness. Feeling it pulse with an energy that could ignite hope. She needed to embrace the pain, channel it, turn it into strength. But as the warmth surged within her, the shadows coiled tighter. Such bravery, they hissed, will only lead to more suffering. She let out a scream, blending anguish and defiance. The light flickered, and for a brief second, the shadows faltered. You can't have me, Lily gasped, forcing her will against them. You can't have love. And then the world around her erupted, a blinding flash from her heart igniting the darkness. Shadows clamored, twisting beyond recognition as a burning void shattered their grasp. But just as hope ignited, it faltered. The fabric of reality thinned, revealing a deeper darkness lurking beneath, an ancient evil stirring awake. "Foolish girl," came the chilling echo. "This is but a glimpse of your fate." Lily's heart sank as she felt the tremors of something far more terrible waiting in the depths, something that had been stirring, watching. What awaited her in the dark? Would she find her way back home or lose everything in the chaos to come? The air crackled with tension, a storm brewing in the depths of Lily's heart. Reality swayed, a precarious tightrope strung between hope and despair. "Fight!" Her mother's voice echoed in the depths of her mind, a faint voice of reason guiding her through the chaos. This was it, the moment she had to choose. Lily looked deep into the swirling void, shadows stretching like gnarled hands, grasping for her, hungry for her very essence. "You think you can consume me?" she shouted, her voice rising above the tempest. The darkness shuddered, as if offended, a collective hiss escaping its depths, a chilling rejection of her defiance. "Join us, dear Lily," sang the shadows, their tones sweet and enticing. "You can have everything you desire: comfort, power, and your mother, forever by your side." The figures swirled, faces shifting in and out of focus, pleading, promising, all blurring into a nightmarish dance. Just then, like a match striking against the overwhelming dark, a rushing heat surged within Lily, the memory of laughter at the dinner table, the warmth of her mother's embrace, the way love had made her feel safe, protected. "No," she cried, feeling a fierce determination pulse through her veins. "You don't understand my love." The light pulsed stronger, illuminating the shadows momentarily, causing them to recoil. "This cannot last. Your love is weak." The dark figure sneered, but its uncertainty lingered like smoke as the brightness grew stronger. Lily steadied her breath, envisioning her mother's face, soft, warm, reassuring. The thought felt like a tether, anchoring her in a sea of shadows. "If you want my mother back, you'll have to break me," she shouted defiantly, lunging deeper into the pulsing light, embracing the pain, the love, the hope she carried within her all along. In one final burst of will, she exhaled everything: her fears, her guilt, the shadows whispering lies, even the very love she'd held onto for so long. The room erupted into chaos as light exploded outward, shattering the darkness. The figures writhed in agony, their shadows dissolving into ash, swallowed by the illumination. "Mom!" Lily cried again, reaching into the heart of the light, the calls of her mother intertwining with the surge of power around her. With every ounce of her being, she pulled forward, arms wide, welcoming her mother's essence. And then, everything changed. A surge rushed through the atmosphere, a radiant stream of energy igniting the space around her. Faces of lost souls flickered and vanished, their cries muted, their suffering quelled by the radiance that enveloped Lily. "Together, my love," her mother's voice broke through the din, ethereal and strong. The light wrapped around Lily, lifting her like sunlight cutting through the fog. "You can do this. Remember, our love is unbreakable." In that moment, clarity erupted through the pandemonium. As she embraced the warmth, the shadows screamed and shrieked, but their voices faded into the distance. Walls crumbled around her, and the air thickened with hope. Lily felt herself being pulled, drawn back through a passage of swirling light. With each pulse, the scent of warmth and vanilla washed over her. Her mother's presence grew nearer. "Mom!" she screamed one last time, the power of their connection igniting the air between them. The darkness shattered around her, no longer able to hold her captive. With one final surge, she burst free and landed into a familiar embrace, collapsing into the arms of love, not just her mother, but the warmth of home. Breathless, Lily looked up, her heart swelling with relief as she caught her mother's gaze filled to the brim with pride and love. They were safe. The looming shadows that once begged to engulf her were gone, forever sealed beyond with their lies. The two clung tightly, tears mingling with laughter as reality swirled like a gentle breeze. They had won. They had navigated through the dark together, forged an unbreakable bond through fear, and emerged victorious as they pulled back. The world around them felt renewed, brighter. Oakwood felt alive with the warmth of community forgotten. They stepped out together into the pale morning light, the sun washing over them as a promise of new beginnings, leaving the shadows in the past. But in the echo of that darkness, tucked within the recesses of the heart, a lingering reminder remained. Love's power was both beautiful and daunting, a legacy to carry forward. They would cherish it, protect it, ensuring the shadows never returned. With a sigh of relief, Lily's eyes sparkled as she turned to her mother. "I'm never leaving your side again." The two shared a sweet embrace as they walked home, the laughter of children filling the air, resonating with the joyful escape of life. They stepped forward, hand in hand, ready to embrace a future radiant with hope. But just before they reached the porch, a soft chime echoed from Lily's phone, a familiar number lighting up the screen. "Let the game begin." You need to subscribe now, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments with your reactions and theories about this ending, because I want to hear from you. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this conclusion. Let's keep this community strong and alive.